Welcome to another tale from the heart of the Jackals.
Lotren.
I'm in the middle of the intro, little worm. Can it wait?
Up.
There you go. Settle in good enough, little Brumble?
Yep. I love story time. Thanks for picking me up.
You're welcome, little worm. Would you like to do the intro this time?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, go ahead anytime.
Okay. I'm Brumble, and this is our host, Lotren. Tonight we have another great story, so grab a snack, settle in, and get nice and comfy, and listen carefully to, what was this one? Listen carefully to Gossamer game.
Have you seen power? Real power? The scraping like a stone against a blade or a bone against a knife. No, stop thinking that way. Gred thought he had known who in his life was powerful. His father a great soldier, his grandfather a great maker, his uncle a great builder. None of that mattered right now. Gred pushed at what should have been the floor he'd always walked on. Reflexive white fabric sprung against his foot, like bouncing on a bed. He noted how, when he pushed one place, everything nearby warped in response. He ducked back into his room, clicking, stabbing, tapping. Hard yet empty, hollow sounds pounding against a distant wooden surface. Take deep breaths. Be quiet. Gred gripped his sword, a short, plain, simple affair. It would cut, slice, and slash better than anything else he had to hand. He gripped his hand even tighter upon the hilt, thinking about everything in his life right now. This monster here is... It is in my home. Our home. Gred peeked out of the door to his room. Nothing. The hall covered in a constant sheet of strands pointing in every possible direction. The sound had faded out yet again. He stepped from his bedroom, walking carefully and slowly toward the window. Blocked, shrouded dozens of times, he could see outside. Sparse, minuscule holes of darkness giving scant hints of the world beyond. Gred heard the wind blowing, a strange sort of whispering of a gust, as if the sharp edges of the buildings had suddenly been clipped off. And then, clicking, distant but there, downstairs from deep within the kitchen. A distant, near empty moan. Gred slowly walked down the hall, peering over the edge of the steps. Shapes, shadows, stretching and flickering up the walls. Movement, quick, furtive, busily focused on many tasks. One at a time, he placed each foot on the angled slope that had once been a set of very familiar stairs. Slow breaths. Take it easy. Be patient. Gred moved, knowing he had no other choice. The only other possible exit was downstairs. You have to go down there to get out of whatever this is. Clicking and clacking, he halted, listening. A series of rasping screeches echoing through the home. I'm near a man. I can do this. Near enough a man. Are you such weakness? This weakness coursing over you and through your flesh? No! You must make a choice. A thud, scrambling limbs and screaming. His mother's voice, frantic, panicked like he'd never heard her before, thrashing, raw, terrible horror, near visible in the wordless shouts from wherever she struggled for her life. grabbing the sword as if it were the air necessary to continue living. Gred moved on. He continued across the strings, making slow, near breathless progress through his own home. He could hear his mother hyperventilating, fiber being pulled from some sort of source, that slipping of fabric through hands that sound so odd in the air around them. Take another step. Just move your foot. Hold your sword. Keep going. You got this. You're halfway there already. Just get to the bottom of the stairs. The sound of his mother slowly became more and more silent, less of her desperate yelling spreading through the house into Gred's ears. More and more layers wrapped like pages of a book telling the story of her end. Something lifted her up, easily. Clacking sounds moving back to where the thud had occurred. He arrived at the last stair. Tilting on the precipice, Gred angled his head, fighting back a gasp. The door was either open or plastered under a strict constraint so as to be utterly hidden from sight. He turned toward the living room, covered in ropes of white silken cords, a still lump in the rough shape and size of his father, not moving, stuck against the wall diagonally. And now there was a choice. Go for the door, find some solace in escape, or try to save his family, and very likely die. I have the knowledge that I could save them. Could I live with myself if I didn't try? No, I could not. Gred took the final step, twisting through the hall into the living room, moving with purpose, seeking the end of a goal. A loud clatter from the kitchen. He paused. Standing in the middle of the room, sticking out against the brightness of so much white translucent filament, he held his breath. He breathed again, just a hint of heated air sucked into his lungs, stepping toward the shape of his fastened father. Arriving, he raised his blade, glancing over his shoulder, sure that he'd be discovered any second, slicing away with his weapon. The job was intensely difficult. The cords refused to cut, fighting the blade with each passing swipe. But he made progress, slicing open a small hole near the hard man's feet. Liquid gushed forth, splashing with a fury as it splattered across the near luminescent cloth-like surface. Gred gazed up, horrified as the shape hardly deflated, emptying itself all around and onto him. Clicking, clattering, tapping, coming his way. Gred rushed behind the nearest stifled shape of any mass. It wriggled when he touched it. Gred kept his mouth shut, killing any sound that tried to flee from his face. Hidden, he couldn't see it well, but he could make out the giant armored black legs, a pair of large orbs of its body, a moving, almost floating sort of cadence to it. A shriek of rage as the beast inspected the empty bag that had been Gred's father, the gross, stinking fluid splattering his legs and arms that had been a member of his family, the man who had raised, cared for, and taught him all he knew right now. He gripped the sword as if it were his blood, his flesh, his very living body. This monster, it is going to die. I will kill it. I am a Jakul. I will hew and cut my vengeance from the foes of my kind. I will end this beast and as many like it as my body will allow. But Gred held his position as he thought these things. The creature was half facing where he hid. He might be able to kill it, but he wanted to be sure. He wanted to kill this thing for sure. Or at the very least make it regret spilling the essence of even a single Jakul without giving it any thought. It fled, moving back toward the kitchen, going back to its other tasks, feeding on the rest of Gred's family. These fucking beasts. Gred slowly began to move out from his hiding spot, trying to keep his eyes off the flapping, empty bag that had been his father. Moving to the hall, glancing to the door, he noted several large, dark forms spraying their coating of sheets to cover the town. I will not live. There is no hope. Better take as many as I can. Plan and strike, plot and actualize. Destroy. Gred turned toward the kitchen, skulking towards his target. There it was, occupying most of the open space of the room. How it fit through the hall so easily and silently, or the front door for that matter, he'd never guess. But there it was, shifting and clicking its giant spear-like feet, moving and flowing at least as graceful and beautiful as it was dangerous and powerful. It hissed as a shape like Gred's mother wriggled ever so slightly. Her movements were sparse and slight, barely any sort of muscle behind them. She'd be liquid soon. A bag of Jakul juice waiting to be imbibed upon. The beast had a pacing, pattering of movements. It never checked its surroundings, but it felt with its feet. The clacking of a sort of tapping for objects in the way. It had a weakness of its own. No eyes on its head. This can be truth. The truth to help me kill this monster and as many like it as I can lay my sword upon. He struck, relying on his training, days upon days, year after year. Raise your weapon, control your breaths, use your muscles in sequence, twist your hips at just the right moment. Slice. The scream ripped apart the very heavens. The second severed limb made it cry in pain and terror even louder than the first, but Gred's momentary joy was cut short as he dodged under a desperately swinging leg that smashed into the wall and tore it apart. Only the webbing held the broken pieces in place. Even gushing from two holes that had been legs ever so recently, this monster was barely phased at all. It darted forward. Gred dove aside, rolling, as he landed while it tried to stab through any of the spots he'd previously occupied. He caught on reflex alone, getting pushed back, having to wipe gunk from his eyes as the remainder chunk of a limb he'd just cut apart slammed into him. He felt a blow bounce off of his leg, but ignored the pain while stabbing at the beast's open maw. It reeled backward, tumbling against a webless portion of furniture. Gred leapt toward it as the beast's limbs flailed this way and that, not one to give away such a chance. He severed each of the remaining legs one at a time, sweat pouring over his chest and down his face, stabbing, stabbing, stabbing repeatedly into the screeching and shrieking beast as he tore its life force from its body. Hefting one last heavy slash, Gred sliced its head from its torso, faltering backward with the exhaustion growing in his limbs. Several screeches lit up the night. Gred took a breath. They were coming for him. He steadied his lungs, preparing for the last moments of his life. And so it is, we've come once more to the end of our time again. This is...
Lotrin,
Yes, little worm?
can I end it?
Of course, little worm. Go on, little Brumble. Take us out.
Hooray! This has been Gossamer Game, another tale from the heart of the Jakul. As always, your host has been Lotrin. I've been Brumble, and we'll be seeing you again next week. And please leave any comments you have down below. We encourage each and every one of you to stay safe out there. Was that good?
It was quite good. GJ, good job.
Ah, so that's what GJ means when you say it. Are you sure? I got a bunch of stuff wrong.
No big deal. You did just fine, little worm. You think you're up to next week's story, maybe?
No, not a scary one. This one was scary. Quite bad. good, but it was scary bad, you know, that kind of bad. Not like this one, no.
There's another sort of tale I could move up the line for you. Not a problem at all. Let me just turn off the recording.